This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up the
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up the
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
It's the great sim race, or it was, at least, a couple of weeks ago. But where we are right now is back home once again. The fastest track in Australian sim racing. This is Mount Panorama, Bathurst. This is the place where everybody wants to come and race. This is the place where every Australian sim racer wants to go and win a sim race. It's Monday night here on the iRacing Esports Network, and you know what time that is, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for your iRacing V8 Supercars Series here for you live with Sim Speed TV. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world for coverage of this race that will be going on. We're in the midst of qualifying right now, which is 2 laps, 8 minutes to get it going, a 28-lap race to follow. I'm Jake Sperry, Nick Skaraja alongside me for this one. And Nick, well, It's all you need to know about who's going to be racing here, there, and everywhere. The best of the best looking to try and get themselves on an official crown right now. Corey Shepherd has the Mr. Antenna car up at the very, very top.
Yeah, that's exactly right there, Sperry. Also just seeing Brady Myers slipping just into that 203, Adam Briggs as well into the 203s as well. So we're getting such a tight field at the moment. They've still got to do just their second lap there. About 3 minutes left on the clock. So we're just seeing a few more of these final laps come through.
They know they can't afford to run off wide or run into any troubles. A whole host of drivers available to them today, looking to try and pick up the wins. As at the moment, it's Myers from Briggs and then Shepherd, Purdy in fourth, Dyson fifth, and Damien Johnstone currently in sixth position at this moment in time. A lot of people hoping they are going to have what it takes today to ride up the mountain, run back down it 28 times and hope they have a victory in sight. But there's so many pitfalls that come around this circuit, Nick, and we see it right now. The mountain, arguably one of the most difficult stretches of road you will ever find in motorsport.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jake. And it's also one of the ones to try and get a lap in so quickly. You can imagine that just in this 8 minutes, in this 8 minutes that the tires are really cold and the walls are really close as well. So not a big overtaking circuit as well. Not suited so much to the sprint race. Obviously, really suited very much to the enduros. So you really want to be around that top 10, top 5 position because you're in for a pretty hard task ahead of yourself.
We're looking at Adam Briggs here in what is second position right now, making the run towards the fastest corner in Australian sim racing. The dreaded chase, the big right here right now before the chicanes. A huge brake zone there to go through. Little bit of a slide, trying to get the rear rotated through the corner. But now it's about attack. Andrew Gilliam to the top, 203.6. Jumps ahead of Brady Myers by a tenth and a half. But here comes Briggs, looking for time. 2 tenths needed, maybe, but over the line, it's not going to be good enough. Had already pulled it up over to the left-hand side, not finding the final corner that was required. But we still have more drivers looking for more. Andrew Dyson, what about the teammate to Adam Briggs? Could find a little bit of something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We can always see DPR having big showing, but yeah, just seeing Andrew Dyson boarding out of that lap at the moment. So that'll be his run done. Currently sitting in 6th place here. We're just catching up here with Dylan Rudd. Just seeing where he is at the moment. Currently just in that top 10. So pretty great showing there by Dylan Rudd.
10th place, but would love a little bit more. Does have time to finish the lap if it is a representative one under the Armorall Bridge, and making the push over towards the line, late on the brakes into the left and trying to search for something over the line that just leapfrogs a couple of places, and that for the time being is a remaining factor to be in 10th place for Dylan Rudd. So did not quite find exactly what's needed. Qualifying, though, is firmly in the books. Let's get the grid up for you on screen. This is how everyone is stacking up for this one. So it's the Pursuit Sim Racing driver of Andrew Gilliam on pole position with Brady Myers alongside Adam Briggs, and Corey Shepherd are on row number 2. Row 3 sees Blake Purdy and Andrew Dyson with Damien Johnstone and Tom Freer 7th and 8th. Jack Widders goes from 9th and Dylan Rudd, as we just saw, in 10th.
Yeah, so unfortunately just missing out on the top 10, Steve Jansen and Brian Borg there on row 6. Mitchell McLeod making the top split as well with Michael Taliancic. Josh Morris and Mitchell Bolton on row 8. Rob Bowden and Christian Smart on row 9. Michael Rosenblatt and Scott Sislowski on row 10.
And then looking over to the next page, Mark Duggan and Craig Jones, they have 21st and 22nd with Dylan Golson and James Chastanerf. Greg Sharp starts it from 25th with Sebastian Tixier, Andrew Ritchie, and then Jason Adams there with Jamie Dyke and Thomas Hinds, 29th and 30th position. And then just to round out the grid, Matt Morris starting from 31st overall. It's a relatively short run, as many a driver will know in the early stages of these going on. This is going to be all about now who has what it takes to put the best lap possible together, and they now need to think about the race. How are they going to get this first lap together? How are they going to start breaking away? How is this going to be the factor that they have been hoping for. This is the track temperatures that you see on screen. 26 in the air, 38 on track. On the warmer side a little bit here today at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, but a wide pit window as well could be all for what's needed. There's the green flag, and there they get themselves going towards turn number 1. Immediately covered then at the front. Andrew Gilliam then getting that one all nicely sorted as they go on through, and they can see how they fan out into their own little packs as they go on towards the mountain straight and turn 2 out here as we get a nice view as they run on up. There is Gilliam at the front, but everybody else behind starts to try and chase. There's a breakaway from about 8th place onwards right now, and a little bit of side-by-side as they go on through. Johnstone there on the back of that train as they all funnel through without any worries at all.
Yeah, it looks to be sitting pretty well at the moment, and we're just having, it looks like someone on the back of that DPR car there. I think that might be Damien Johnson there on the back of Andrew Dyson there, just pulling back away. So, yeah, it's very early days at the moment. You're not wanting to stick it in the wall so quickly here.
Well, someone's not happy. It's Greg Sharp who is not happy towards the back of the field. He has run into troubles, and it was with Sebastian Tixier where the incident happens. They all run into each other, and it looks like there was a huge slam into the back from someone else as well, up towards the cutting corner. Not ideal, and that's Janssen in trouble going through the dip there, just heading through Skyline and down the hill. Taliancic getting caught up in that one as well, as we were just looking at them go down the hill. So not what you want lap 1 at arguably a very, very narrow point of track.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for Steve Jansen, making that top 10 in qualifying, so he has been shuffled down the order quite a lot. We'll see whether or not he can make it back there, but you can see him losing that pace there along the straight, so potentially that might be Jansen's night done.
It certainly could be. So Steve Jansen then dropping back. You almost got 3 wide here. McLeod's going to be on the outside as they go through. And there's dramas. There goes the hyperdrive car straight on. And fortunately misses everybody there. That would be Josh Morris running into troubles. And now here's Rob Bowden wanting in as well. Josh Morris just about able to get back on track and going again. But a big, big issue in the middle of the pack. Front 5, they're quite happy at the moment. Gilliam, Myers, Shepherd, Briggs and Purdy. They're the top 5 at the moment, but 6th and 7th starts to drop back. But still, Mitch McLeod, no spoiler on the back, loses a place out there, and that will be Rosenblatt, I do believe, jumping up a place.
I was just about to jump in there. How lucky to be Mitchell Bolton with that car flying across the front of him in the chase. Very lucky not to take him out there. So he'd be absolutely counting his chickens at the moment, trying to get back onto the rest of this packet we're seeing right now.
And there you can see the damage Mitchell McLeod's got. He will be going in for an early stop, you'd feel. There is Tom Freer in 11th, but there is Mitch Bolton in 13th right now, heading up the hill through the cutting corner, and now looking towards this mid-sector of the lap where overtaking is at a premium, and most of these drivers will be thinking about just staying in line, making sure that they're not going to be in the worst possible position to make things happen today, just keeping it all nice and calm as they go through the metal grate and make sure they don't run into the side at all. But for the time being, it's all nice and calm. Taliancic with a lot of damage, of course, after contact with Janssen. That's not going to be helpful, but, you know, they're all going to be running in a pack and they'll be thinking about, okay, next overtake, what is it?
Yeah, it's exactly right. And just as we're seeing them come up to that forest elbow as well, definitely something to line up and try and get that overtake done on the straight there. As you can see, Craig Jones holding that really tight line there. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of there. That's not what you want coming onto such a long straight. Not too many moves as we're seeing down Conrod Straight at the moment, so we're looking pretty well unchanged.
Unchanged, especially for the top 5. Briggs runs slightly wide, though, and here comes Blake Purdy, tucked up underneath. Won't see where the front is of the Holden Commodore, but now looking for this one on the brakes. Not going to quite get there in terms of making the move. There is Dylan Rudd in 9th position, teammate just behind. Andrew Gilliam sets the fastest lap then of the day so far, but for now, 9th and 10th, Rudd and Borg having a good run. They want to get onto the back of the very unpredictable Jack Widdus.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we're just seeing how strong Brian Borg's race pace is sometimes. And just as another person, we're just seeing as well with Rob Bowden, there's definitely a few people not so strong in qualifying, but their race pace always seems to shuffle themselves to the front.
Always seems to, but we see how this all happens over long racing. Lap 3 of 28. Christian Smart wanting in, but not quite finding exactly what is needed. On the brakes and up they go. Purdy here still looking on the back, trying to find a way through on Adam Briggs, but Briggs is not going to let this one go. He led the championship for a little bit last season and knows that he's got some very good consistency in terms of what he is capable of doing. Going through the lefts right now, they're at the metal grate corner and over towards this fantastic McPhillamy Park left-hander before diving down the hill again. It's a case of Blake Purdy just wanting to make sure that any move that's being made is going to be a precise one. You do not want to be in a place where it all starts to fall apart and you're making contact and you're gaining incidents and you're beating and banging up a very, very fragile car as they go through the forest elbow. This is about staying in a range.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just showing how much experience there of Adam Briggs and Blake Purdy. You could see Purdy just sticking about a car length back there from the back of that DPR car there of Adam Briggs, and absolutely just following and just keeping in so tight at the moment. So some really impressive driving being shown.
On the brakes, left-right comes up, and no real worry so far for Blake Purdy. Not in a position just yet, but gets another cracking run out of the exit. Bit of side-by-side almost then as Rob Bowden. You can't miss the red and blue tanked SRT machine, which is more like a driving mural, I think is the right way to say it, more rather than a car. But now looking maybe at Mitch Bolton, and it's worth noting there's a little bit of scraping there on the front there of Mitch Bolton's Holden. So that's not going to be doing too many favours in terms of this race. Any sort of damage isn't good. Bowden thinking of the inside, but just sticking the nose in there, trying to get in the mirrors, trying to say, hello, I'm here.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Just putting that pressure there on Mitchell Bolton, pressuring into a mistake, which is going to be pretty tricky. Mitchell is such an experienced driver there, as we're just seeing these two cars again of Briggs and Blake Purdy. You'd almost think Blake potentially maybe getting a pit stop in early and trying to break free, because he definitely looks like he might have the pace out of those two.
And Bolton's just lost one place, and it could be two, as Christian Smart has gone around the outside. He's also decided to make the jump to Synergy Sim Racing, which means Gone Rogue are no more. So Christian Smart does a good job, jumps to 14th. Mitch Bolton doing a okay job of keeping it out of the wall at turn 2, but there's a pursuit car. That's Taliancic in trouble.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate there from Taliancic. We just saw that puff of smoke there in the foreground, so not in a good spot, unfortunately. Where he's got to be, there is nowhere that he can really kind of get out there, so he's going to be a bit of a passenger coming back down the mountain.
We catch it on the oh no, is that rule 1 of sim racing that's just happened right there, courtesy of Tom Freer in front. So is Taliancic going up then towards turn 4 and over towards the mount here, the next right left, and I think it's Freer running into troubles. Yeah, Freer just goes too deep, hits the wall and doesn't hold the brakes, gives no room for Taliancic, and ultimately rule 1 of sim racing, you don't hit your teammate, and rule 2 is you stress it even louder. Do not hit your teammates.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Such a tricky blind corner as well. He would have seen in that relative screen that closing distance there, but of course, rolling backwards, you wouldn't know which side of the road he's going to be on. So it's a bit unfortunate there, as we're just catching live pictures now of Adam Briggs and Blake Purdy. Briggs just holding that little bit more of a gap now to that number to Blake there in 5th, as we're just looking back down to the guys in the just outside the top 10.
Well, for Pursuit now, they only have one driver to focus on. That is Andrew Gilliam at the moment, who's surprisingly in a Mustang more rather than a Holden here today. But at the moment, Rob Bowden, he's got to try and hold back the tide. Look how far the train goes back. It goes all the way back to that hyperdrive driver there right at the back. I believe that's Morris, who is trying to find a way back through this pack. But Christian Smart would want to weigh in and is not quite best placed for that at this stage, so is still going to have to be playing that waiting game. You can be brave up at the cutting, but you need a really strong run to make that a reality, and I don't think anybody right now is in that place. Worth noting, though, that Corey Shepherd is starting to drop back in 3rd position from Brady Myers and Andrew Gilliam 1st and 2nd. That gap now 1.1 seconds almost between them right now, which means there's going to be not as much tow for those big 2 straight. And I think Corey Shepherd's looking behind at Adam Briggs and Blake Purdy at this stage for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You can see that time that Briggs and Birdie have been putting there into the back of Corey Shepherd. So he will go from looking to attack to looking to defend, because we can see that DPR car pulling in that, coming down the Commodore straight, pulling in that time gap there as well. Just seeing the foreground of Gilliam and Myers just off in front there.
It's really close between those two right now. You can see them looking to try and suss things out. Of course, they've got an unlimited fuel tank for this event today. So what they'll be looking at is, well, how long can we go when it comes to the strategy on the tank? And I think the key here for these drivers is, well, if we're going to try and win this one, let's do it on strategy. I think Brady Myers will be very comfortable and content sitting in second position. But here's Christian Smart under pressure from Mitch Bolton, who will Michael Rosenblatt, who will be wanting to get on through. Of course, the teammates 13th and 14th, with Bolton now 14th. And look in the background there, that I believe is going to be a move down the inside, potentially, just not able to be concocted there by Craig Jones, I think it is.
Yeah, and we're just seeing Craig, I think that's Craig Jones there. Oh, hard on the brakes there, but unfortunately not being able to make that move stick. So a few unfamiliar faces, as we've maybe seen on a few previous Mondays there. Absolutely getting the elbows out and having a great time, as we're seeing now. We can just see James Chastanoff, quite a regular to this series, just behind those two. So potentially maybe lining up an attack, as we just see down the inside there. Oh, big slide.
Golson then will lose out and go to the back of the pack then with that slide. Trying to get out there on the outside is always tough. And Nick, how difficult is it knowing the iRacing dynamic track is there? Looks Morris around the outside at the cutting, not going to find it. How difficult is it to really run on the outside of turn 2, knowing all that marble build-up is there on that outside?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Even though it's quite a narrow track, there is that really sticky racing line right through the middle there, so you don't want to stray too wide. And we've already seen a few times there of a few people coming unstuck, just running it either too far to the inside or too far to the outside.
We'll be looking every which way for it. There is Sebastian Tixier trying to make some good progress here through this field right now in 19th position after the early contact. There is Brady Myers, though. Look at this for the race lead. Nose to and tail here at the end of lap 6 out of the 28 that we have available. Myers trying to get close enough in the Logitech G Altus Esports car to make a move, but this is the game of chicken that we are expecting. It's going to be about who wants to come down in and make a stop, and at what time do they feel the right strategy is. They raced each other in the earlier split today, and, well, the scenario was exactly the same. Andrew Gilliam got it from Brady Myers, and then it was Shepherd and Briggs fighting for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you can imagine just between these four, and especially with the endurance events as we've seen in the past few weeks, so many laps being done here, you would almost think that they would be able to drive the entire circuit by feel that they've been around here so much. So we're just catching here with Bowden and Christian Smart. Steve Jansen down in 15th at the moment. So yes, qualifying in 10th and unfortunately being shuffled down with that early incident.
Has been shuffled down, but now is looking for that place then, as we got a bit of side-by-side in both packs right now as they go on through. So there is Smart getting through on Rob Bowden down on the inside. Jansen dives down the inside and picks it up as well, and Bowden loses another one because Smart's run wide. Oh, that's beautifully done by Michael Rosenblatt. 2 for 1 at the supermarket.
That's right. It's a good overtaking opportunity there through that cutting part. So he'll be sitting just as they cross the top of the mountain, so there won't be any counter moves. Potentially they could maybe line him up there on Forest Elbow.
Well, it's all about lining it up then for the next attempts, and crucially for Steve Jansen, he's now going to be able to close onto the back of Rob Bowden then with this attack, and being able to get into that position where the attack is working out. That's going to be something where we are going to be seeing maybe a little bit more help coming in terms of this run. Just pick up the lines, pick up the toe, and then just start to think about one place at a time from here on out. So that's going to be the focus then. 13th and 14th position then in this race. Bowden runs incredibly wide, though, through the elbow, and this could be the one chance that Jansen was hoping for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Jansen, they're pulling to the inside, but not enough drive out there, but he will get that draft coming through the chase here. You can just see him, 2/10 at the moment to Bowden, so Bowden will need to line up and defend. He will see Jansen in those mirrors there, but Jansen just sticking with there at the moment. Big slide there from Bowden, just pushing that little bit too hard there through the chase.
Can't afford to make the tyres squeal too much in these vehicles. They have understeer and oversteer, which makes them arguably the most difficult on the surface. And again, wide goes Bowden and Steve Jansen. Well, will you turn down this opportunity? Got a little bit caught up, though, with how much Rob Bowden was caught out, and into turn one, Hell's Corner, and up the rise again. What a drive off the exit from Rob Bowden. That's a perfect defence.
Yeah, Bowden definitely getting the boot in really early there and getting that power down there. And that's this fighting between these two have pulled Bolton onto the back of these two again. So Bolton potentially might be able to get a 2-for-1 between these two.
Nope, not this time. That one not quite ideal. Do want to look further forward, though, at third place, because now all of a sudden Corey Shepherd, the gap 0.4 of a second here to Adam Briggs. And it's not the fact that Shepherd's been slow, it's the fact that Briggs has been quick. Briggsy has just about pulled the gap away from Blake Purdy now, so it becomes a fight third and fourth then on the road through the dipper and looking towards the next section of track. They are still only 2.2 seconds here off of your race leaders.
There's actually, I'm sorry, I'm just catching off screen there. And we're just catching a live image there of Tixie. Oh yeah, and you don't want to stop there. That is a really, really fast corner.
Wow. Let's get a look at this then. So this is James Chastanerth getting caught up with Dylan Golson. So Golson into the wall and trying to all get it up, and then everybody's just going to turn up onto the scene and not know where to go. And that is, for a lack of a better word, messy.
Yeah, just a really unfortunate situation there. Of it's with this narrow track, it's almost a concertina effect. If you clip a wall and bounce off it, there's generally going to be someone else right there as well. So unfortunately, we're just catching back with our live pictures here of Corey Shepherd. So under a lot of pressure now there by Adam Briggs. So Adam Briggs definitely in a good spot now. You can see that he has extended that gap to Blake Purdy behind him.
Jack Widders, have a little look at this then, has dropped down into 10th place then over the course of what's going on. As he had a moment, I think he has then out on track. So Jack Widders then dropping behind both Dylan Rudd and Brian Borg. And it's just a spin, and it's the easy one. It's the oversteer out to the exit of Murray's and into the pit wall, which is not ideal, but able to keep it going without too much contact. But those tyres, they're going to be hyperheated.
That's exactly right. And Murray's corner, you'd almost think a 90-degree corner is quite easy to take on, but that Murray's corner is off camber, and it's a really tricky one to absolutely nail. And we have seen, especially in the lower splits, a lot of spins and a lot of incidents at that corner there.
We certainly have. It's so easy to get wrong if you're just pushing the limits a little bit too much here in these races. But down the hill, third, fourth, and fifth just behind, come along right now. Andrew Dyson on his own in sixth place at the moment, so no real worries for Purdy. There is Jansen and Bolton fighting it out for 14th and 14th and 15th place at the moment behind Rob Bowden. The mode that they are looking for right now is just find the stop soon, I reckon. It's going to be a case where most of the pack are going to be trying to run to a strategy. Here comes Adam Briggs, though, up over the rise here on Conrad and trying to pick up the move on the inside, looking at the fastest corner as a place to attack. But Shepherd's going to try and keep the nose in here on the inside. Up over the curb. And well played, Adam Briggs up to third.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And Corey Shepherd keeping in tightly there. Thankfully not able to tag there, but it does look like we're going to have Blake Purdy there down the inside as well. So, they're going to have to both power down this straight here, Jake.
When it rains, it pours, and Purdy actually backs out of the position then. Doesn't want it. Oh, no! Oh, no! Was there contact there between Purdy and one Mr. Shepherd? He goes around. He's able to gather it up. He very nearly runs into one Mr. Damien Johnstone on the rejoin and will now be with his teammates and say, come on, I want to push now up this straight and go and attack again. So let's get ourselves a Motum simulation replay. It was an awkward incident into turn number one. Here's Blake Purdy. He falls in behind and he looks for his braking marker. And, there's just the slightest bit of contact.
Yeah, it did look like Blake might have just seen there of that brake check up there. Might have accidentally misjudged that. So yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate racing incident there. There's probably not too much that they can really do about it there, as we're just coming back to live pictures.
It's so easy to run into mistakes, and just like that, the whole complexion of the top 5 in this race changes. Gilliam leads, Myers second, it's now Briggs in third, Purdy in fourth, and Andrew Dyson makes it 2 of the Simrigs.com DPR cars now inside the top 5. There is Corey Shepherd in 7th place. He's going to be trying to chase down Damien Johnstone then over the next stint, and after a mistake like that, you would feel here lap 10, he'll end a lap 10 here at 28. Now would be the time to go and dive down into the pits maybe and make a stop. Try and get an undercut going to really maximise as much as possible out of the race.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And maybe calm those nerves down a little bit as well. Unfortunately, such a mistake like that can really shake you up. So just catching here of Bolton and Jensen again. So these two have had a real battle most of this race so far. So Jensen getting a really good drive there onto Conrad, right where you want to be there under that rear wing there of Mitchell Bolton.
Well, he'll be trying to get this move done. We'll be trying to look then to the inside to make this one happen, and going on through without any real worries at all, but they're going to remain too wide here all the way to the chase. Inside for the RTR car, and it's a very comfortable defence then come the end for Mitchell Bolton, who continues on in that 14th place then in this race. So no real dramas to speak of then between these drivers in the middle of the pack. We've had a number of retirements from this race so far today, but the front has been pretty calm, I think is the right way to say it. There is Blake Purdy, and he is not a million miles away from Adam Briggs. He's just got to keep it calm, keep it smooth, and not run into any contact at all from now to the end, and that is 18 laps worth of racing left.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just casting actually behind Blake Purdy, so Andrew Dyson and Damien Johnson, we haven't really seen too much of. Have had a pretty quiet race so much, so there's been quite a lot of action obviously in front of them and quite a lot of action behind, but sitting very comfortable in 5th and 6th position at the moment.
They certainly are, and well, one of the keys about having a race is having a quiet race. That's always the easier of the races. Maybe not as much fun, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, so to speak. Gilliam and Myers, though, top 2. Big attack from Myers through the Forest elbow, and this could be the chance that we are seeing here for the race lead. Now, I'm very interested by Andrew Gilliam. He's done this a number of times this race, just moving over to the right-hand side of the circuit, trying to avoid maybe a couple of bumps there on that right, give himself a best run possible through this section. And it's almost like, say, the Monza bump that you have in the middle of the road on the run up to Ascari, or maybe even that massive drain that everyone avoids when it comes to the circuit of Monaco. This is the same sort of philosophy I think we're seeing Andrew Gilliam trying to take.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And talking about avoiding as well, though, both Gilliam and Myers running it so close to that grass there on the right-hand side of the circuit. So using absolutely every inch there. We're just catching there is a car, lap car just up ahead as we're looking at Michael Rosenblatt and Christian Smart. Pretty big battle for 11th place at the moment.
Pretty big. We'll be hoping to try and get the move, and not quite there for the time being for one Mr. Christian Smart. He'll have time, though, to make this, and that's a taker onto the lane just behind. I believe that's Craig Jones, who's just dived in. So the first real stopper in this race will be Craig Jones in this event, and now the chain reaction starts. Those in the mid-pack will be thinking about diving down into the lane. Those who have gone a little bit longer will be thinking about, okay, what do we do? Here is Smart again, looking for turn number 2, out on circuit, and again, not quite there. Just happy to sit behind, save a bit of fuel, maybe have a shorter stop when it comes to the next time they dive down into the pits.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Sperry. And just seeing everyone so spread out at the moment, you can think that no one's really getting held up at the moment. So they can play their strategy a little bit later there, as we see Craig Jones rejoining the field in 22nd place at the moment. So yeah, people will have to start to think about their strategy at the moment there.
They certainly have to think of strategy. Craig Jones would have not been best pleased coming out behind a driver that he was racing against. Look at Shepherd, though, all over the back of Damien Johnstone. hoping for a place, and not quite there right now. But here comes the attack. Looking now over which way do you go, Mr. Shepherd? You'll have to go to the inside surely right now, because the racing line being taken by one Mr. Damien Johnstone as they head to the fastest corner. This is where you see overtakes happen, and Damien Johnstone wise enough to back out of it, knowing Corey Shepherd is just that little bit quicker.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Corey Shepherd's showing some real pace. Very unfortunate for that incident earlier there, but sticking it out at the moment as we're just seeing Johnstone coming into the pit. So, yeah, definitely the first of our top 10 at the moment. Starting to come into the pits could cause a bit of a chain reaction as we see the pit limiter on.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a chain reaction then. There'll be the lights flashing, of course, for that, and getting on forward without too many worries at all. Just seeing in the background there, one of the lap traffic vehicles then incredibly slow with nothing on the front there of the car. So Johnstone in onto the lane right now, having a pretty decent stop of things right now. Mitch Bolton has decided to also come down in, and that is Mark Duggan also deciding that he wants to come in. No hacksaw for Mark Duggan, unfortunately. His name's not Jim Duggan, but he is certainly having a good run, and that is also, I believe, someone else in the pits also. So they're continuing on, just focusing on Sebastian Tixier for the moment, because there is a chance that he could find a move through, but not quite best placed for the time being to get past Mr. Chastanet.
Yeah, that's right. We are seeing a pretty good battle between these two, and we've seen a pretty mixed result there, both from Tixier and Chastanov. So sitting not too bad there in 14th and 15th place at the moment. They're just tapping away. They could take advantage of a few of these early stops that are happening. So seeing what is happening, I'm just seeing a lone car in pit lane at the moment. Just trying to work out who that is.
And of course we will work that out soon. It's Jamie Dyke who is down in on the lane and not having a best run of things today is Mr. Dyke. So that is not ideal for the tanked SRT machine. There's your leading two, though. Andrew Gilliam, Brady Myers then at the front. Myers has number one on the car because he has the highest iRating out of anybody in this field. Number 8 for Andrew Gilliam. He is the 8th highest in this field, and this is proof that pace does not necessarily reflect iRating sometimes. Some drivers maybe don't race as many official races as, say, Brady Myers does, who raced pretty much everything last season. So here's Scott Soslovsky in the Trick Esports car as we get a little bit of looks then up and down the order, as I believe that is going to be Adam Briggs in on the lane, followed by Purdy, followed by Dyson.
Yeah, seeing a pretty good showing there from Soslovsky. Unfortunately, a little bit further down than what he'd like to be, as we're just seeing Briggs, Rudd, and one of the other GPR cars there into the pits now. So we'll be able to see firsthand who will get that stop done and who can get back out on track.
Well, crucially, off and away on the jacks first was Adam Briggs. So he's taken a little bit less than maybe Blake Purdy. That's Rob Bowden in onto the lane then, looking for a stop at the halfway stage onto lap 14. Soslovsky also following down in then onto the lane, looking for a nice stop to be able to get on going again. And out and away goes one Mr. Rob Bowden. So he's having a pretty nice run of things. He'll get off of the limiter and away he goes, looking to try and attack 16th place for the time being for Rob Bowden. So now it's about attack, attack, and attack. Oh, slow car. Who's that there peeled off to the side of the road? Is that Duggan?
Potentially might be Duggan there, but whether or not he's actually pulled off to let a few people through, so not too sure. It does look like he's returning now, so a bit unsure what's happened there. We might be able to grab a replay of that potentially later on, as we're just looking back towards the front there of Andrew Gilliam and Brady Myers.
So there is Mark Duggan in 23rd position, was stranded on the inside run up towards turn number 2 and had been there for a very, very long time. So that is unscheduled for one, but also, I would say as well, might be something technical.
Yeah, potentially might be. Unfortunately, there is we're just catching some live pictures just in the background. I'm sorry, there of Briggs coming through there. So on. Oh, sorry, that was a lap car. Sorry about that, Spirit.
It's all cool. It's all cool. Adam Briggs then, still under pressure though, because look at this. Blake Purdy has refused to give up. That's Steve Janssen that they've both gone by, who is, of course, yet to come in and make a stop at this moment, and in fact will do so graciously right now as they go on in. But for the time being, Briggs and Purdy, they continue their scrap that they've been having all race long. Next focus then is who else is in? Christian Smart, Michael Rosenblatt, all in on the lane looking for a stop, and that is Bolton as well diving in. So now we're playing a game of chicken at the front then between Gilliam and Myers. All of the, I would say, Premier Racing Team cars, Borg, Rudd, Shepherd, they've stayed out so far. Rosenblatt with a quick stop, and actually leapfrogging here someone known as Mr. Janssen, because he's staying for an incredibly long time. I'd say 15 seconds too long.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think Janssen's having a bit of an unlucky race at the moment there with that longer stop as well, but very familiar sight. Again, Blake Purdy there on the back there of that DPR car just in front. So looks like they're going to be like this for probably another 15, or almost till the end of the race now. So just keeping that pressure on in front.
It's all about that pressure. It's always a mental game. Blake Purdy, 8th place, looking to get up to 7th past Adam Briggs. They're still waiting on the top 7 to come in and make a stop. They are expected to gain 5 places as they go down the hill towards the dipper corner and push on forward. Now, Damien Johnstone's got this awkward scenario here. He's got to get past James Chastaner right now, who is not wanting to relinquish the top 10. So we'll see how this one works out as down the hill they go and towards the Boris elbow. And this is going to be a case of, well, how quickly can I dispatch a driver who is maybe a little bit further back in terms of what's there. In comes Brady Myers then to make the stop.
Yeah, that's right. So it's definitely going to be showing us where Gilliam... looks like we'll probably see Gilliam in next lap there. So we are going to see how this strategy of Myers pulling in that little bit early. Hopefully it doesn't put him into too much traffic. You can imagine here Gilliam's going to get a very clean lap, completely unobstructed at the moment as Brady Myers rejoins in 3rd.
Easy pickings then as Adam Briggs sets the fastest lap of the race then on lap 15 of this event. He does a 2:04.418, trying to break away from Blake Purdy, who'd stayed there every stage of the way then on the fresh tyres. So now that really does tell you something. 2:04.4 for Adam Briggs. I just want to have a little look at the last lap time that was done by Andrew Gilliam, and just looking at it, it was a 2:05.6. So that tells you all you need to know. That's 1.2 seconds potentially of advantage that Brady Myers could find, which would definitely be enough to get the jump.
Yeah, it's absolutely good work there. I was just catching off camera there. So Janssen back in front there of Mitchell Bolton again. So again, switching positions. I don't think anyone really wants that 15th place there at the moment. Constantly swapping there, and it looks like we've got another car there of Suzuki there with Bolton there up the inside.
Trying to hold on to it, but is going to run out of time. So it's a sweet 16 for one Mr. Scott Zlowski, who now has eyes focused on the two, I would say, very similarly coloured Mustangs there of Steve Janssen and Craig Jones then. Both of them looking forward. Gilliam is deciding to stay out again. So what clearly Andrew Gilliam's thinking of right now is, well, how much life is there actually in one of these tyres? Does it cure to a level? And the answer should be yes, it does, because this is Andrew Gilliam thinking about trying to mastermind an overcut strategy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I would be curious, I actually don't have it in front of me, what his lap time was around the back there. So you can see that physical distance there to Brady Myers. Obviously going to be a little bit closer there once he pits in there. Won't really get a good idea of, obviously with Brady Myers just pitting in on those cold tyres, we're not going to get a really accurate display of his lap time. So it's going to be really anyone's guess. It's highly likely that Gilliam will come out in front, but not too sure at this stage.
Well, Brian Borg has dived down into the pits as one of the last takers then onto the lane. So we are just waiting now, it seems, for one Mr. Andrew Gilliam to make that stop. Has gone longer than pretty much anybody else here in this race. And Borg will look like he will come out in around 8th place then in this one, just behind his teammates, as Adam Briggs 3rd, Blake Purdy in 4th place. On the brakes up the hill through turn 2 and looking towards the cutting at turns 3 and 4. Not quite there just yet, but Blake Purdy is just doing the one thing he needs to in this one. Just follow behind, wait for the mistake, and if it doesn't happen, try and force the issue. There is Mitch Bolton. He's now behind Jones.
Yeah, so we're just seeing even a few more of these, of this pack of 4 constantly changing positions at the moment there. So big run up there onto the mountain there. Still about 9 laps or so to go, so still a little bit more distance. As we just see Janssen holding off just in the foreground there to Soslovsky, so Janssen doing a really good job defending there.
He wants 14th place, does Scott Soslovsky. Janssen's not going to let him have it up the hill into the cutting, and again, this is now a long wait up the mountain, barring any major mistakes. You don't often see overtakes on the mountain, and if you do, you've either got to be brave or stupid. Either one of them works. There is Gilliam again staying out. So this is a really interesting strategy from Andrew Gilliam. How long is he going to give himself here to try and chase the time down? I'm pretty sure he can't make it all the way without stopping, but if he does, it'd be a miracle. So Andrew Gilliam, I think, is just going to be trying to run his race right now, which is do not run into any troubles from now until the end.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Talking about brave, you could almost say Gilliam very brave there for trying to stick it out so long on the current set of tyres there. So not too sure what he's got planned in mind there. We can see Brady Myers 26 seconds back, which doesn't really mean a lot at this stage because we know once Gilliam's in and getting that stop done, that will close it right down.
It certainly will. And Andrew Gilliam knows he's got to be really, really aggressive over these laps. If he's looking for in-laps, he's got to do well. More sliding there through the chase for one Mr. Steve Janssen. Soslovsky looking every which way, hoping he's going to have a chance. But once more, it's not anything to be concerned about at the moment for Mr. Janssen. He's just at the front of the 4-car scrap. Now, here's another one. Corey Shepherd on the recovery. He's got to try and make a way through on Damien Johnstone.
Yeah, so we've seen Corey Shepherd having a pretty unlucky incident there on Hell Corners earlier in the race there, but right on the back there of that Holden Commodore in front there. So Corey Shepherd definitely having the pace out of these two, so potentially getting that 6th place back there. We just there in the background there of Brian Borg. Borg, definitely not a stranger here to the mountain, winning some of the other endurance events here as well. So Borg, very, very strong here.
Wanting to be strong, needing to be strong, needing to find places, but there is the chrome of the Mr. Antenna car there being run in the Premier Racing Team colours by Corey Shepherd and not getting himself the best of times at the moment. Thinking about the elbow, that's not a place you normally get it. Race leader, though, finally deciding to dive down into the pits. This should be Brady Myers coming back into the race lead, but Gilliam will have fresh tyres to work with. We'll take a little look back at that battle just after we work out where Myers is in terms of this. Heading through the final corner. It's a nice left. There is Johnstone on the outside, and once more is forced to let through Corey Shepherd in terms of this battle. There is Myers, second, now into first. Where is Gilliam? He's still in the lane. He's finally off the jacks, and he's a long way back.
Yeah, what has gone on there with Gilliam? That is, you can see that distance between the two of them. So Gilliam rejoining almost 4 seconds behind there. So something is definitely going to miss there. That's pulled Adam Briggs right into a potential there for that 2nd place spot. You'll know that Briggs will have the warmer tyres out of these two. So Gilliam will have to take it nice and easy there, trying to bring those tyres up to temperature, as we just saw that massive slide there through just coming up the mountain now.
Well, this is the issue now. If Andrew Gilliam wants this race win, he's got to chase down 0.6 of a second plus every single lap around this mountain, which is an astronomical feat to do so against a driver who has been so strong over the last few months in Brady Myers, who has been so influential to the team and wanting to get the best possible results out of him. And I think without Brady Myers, I think Altus would be in a much more difficult position for someone who has such a history and a pedigree of racing at the highest caliber.
Yeah, that's right. The Logitech, the Altus team, so dominant, and as we're seeing across multiple platforms and some of the endurance races in some of the other cars as well, just being so strong, not only on the Australian sim racing, but on the world stage at the moment. So Brady Myers flying the flag very proudly there for Altus.
He certainly is. You can see it though, having to deal with a bit of traffic. The gap down to 5.8 seconds then. Out on circuit, has lost 0.3 of a second over that last little run. So this is not ideal, but we are always going to know that the tyre differentiation between those two was always going to be one to keep in mind the longer that this sort of race goes on. And Gilliam is really attacking the gap down to 5.5 seconds with 9 laps worth of racing to go. Andrew has got to drive bit between teeth, but there will be a worry about how hard Andrew Gilliam's going to be pushing here from now to the end of the race here right now, because of the fact here, Nick, that you see Andrew Gilliam is going to be using a whole heap of a lot of tyre.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and pushing so hard, potentially might be pushing himself into a mistake there. It's definitely Brady Myers' to lose, but you can see that gap coming down again even more, almost to 5 seconds. The gap between these two, so Gilliam is definitely taking a chunk out. Potentially this might shake up Brady Myers a little bit, seeing that relative screen and seeing that gap between the two of them come close there.
Yep, if it comes crashing down, then it's going to hurt inside, I think, at the moment for Brady Myers. So here's Brian Borg, trying to get through on Damien Johnstone in the scrap for 7th and 8th place on the road. Borgie wants to try and find a way to get himself that place, going through the metal grate corner and towards McPhillamy right now, as this is a very narrow line, but Johnstone knows he's not going to be overtaken down the mountain. He has no real reasons to worry about that. Just keep it all nicely lined up. Nobody can make anything happen here. So it's all about the run out to the elbow. This is almost the case of street circuit racing, even though this is a street circuit, but even more like a street circuit. This is a street circuit with a racetrack feel, but it's all about positioning and knowing where the places you can be overtaken are and maximizing the corner exits onto those prime places to make passes.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Sperry. And talk about corner exits there. We did see Borgie having a bit of a slide there at a Forest Elbow, so you can see that has just pulled that gap a little bit between him there. But and a big slide there in the foreground there from Corey Shepherd. So much squirming from these V8 supercars. Of course, 650 horsepower, quite a lot of power to put down through those skinny tyres there. So it's quite a big balancing act around this circuit.
I don't know how Corey Shepherd sees out of the side of that machine with the spec maps and everything that's been put on it. There's a lot of screen there that is a little bit covered up, so I hope he doesn't drive that one home and get himself caught out by a couple of policemen here or there. But fastest lap just went to Andrew Gilliam, a 2:04.401. The gap is now down to 4.4 seconds as Shepherd has not been able to run away from Damien Johnstone here in the latter stages of this race. But crucially, the leading gap, it is closing in at a rate of knots, which was not wanted for Brady Myers. And this is the key. Now Andrew Gilliam will see on the mountain a couple of corners here and there. He will still have eye shot of what his target is.
Yeah, such a drive there by Gilliam, almost pulling. I remember on this part of the track on the last lap, it was the gap was almost 5 seconds, so he's almost pulled a second in on that lap at the moment there. So Gilliam has definitely got the bit between his teeth there, just hitting those apexes, just easing on the throttle there. He's definitely got the tyre advantage over Brady Myers, as we're just seeing that gap between the two is going to dip down below that 4 second mark.
Now this becomes something really, really special for Andrew Gilliam. He knows he's got the gap under 4 seconds. He'll want a little bit more than that. He'll want those 4 seconds to be absolutely nothing, but he's got to work for it over the course of this race. It's down to 3.8 now, and every time we look and check, that gap comes down 3.7 then on the break. He goes through. Traffic, though, is there in front of Andrew Gilliam. That is not going to be what he wants to be dealing with right now. 3.6 seconds the margin and look at the difference in terms of times. Gilliam did a 2:04.4 on that last run. It was a 2:05.3 from Brady Myers, who was 9/10 of a second slower and maybe saving fuel.
Yeah, that's exactly right there, as we just see him go through a few of those back markers here, but over a second a lap at the moment there, so you could only imagine what potentially this might be doing to Brady Myers' confidence here. So I reckon by the time they hit the top of the mountain, the gap's going to be below 3 seconds. So we've still got 6 laps to go here. And of course, 6 laps around Bathurst is quite long. It is a very, very long circuit here.
Long circuits mean lot more opportunities to save fuel around the laps. Brady Myers is having to play a really defensive run from now to the end. He does like to cut it fine with the fuel gauge, and he's looking like he's proving so once again right now. Down the hill, 3.3. Now the gap that they have to deal with, and it seems like Brady Myers is maybe looking backwards more rather than looking forwards. This is a border chase, some would say, at this moment, with Adam Briggs third, 9 seconds off of the race lead at the moment. All of these gaps start to just open up ever so slightly, apart from 6th, 7th and 8th. But 3.3 seconds right now, that for Andrew Gilliam is absolutely marvellous.
Yeah, it's exactly right there. Myers holding a bit of pace there over the top of the mountain. We have seen in the past few laps there, Myers be a little bit slow at the top of the mountain here. So we've just seen that gap down. So obviously if you're Gilliam, you want to get that gap down to maybe a couple of tenths, but it's one thing to pull that gap in, but it's also another to pass as well. So he'll need to try and at least have a lap or two up his sleeve to put in an attack.
3.1 seconds now at the front. 6 laps of racing. They've got 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 and 28 to negotiate here in this race. And now you start to wonder here, how long can Brady Myers hold on? He knows he's got the advantage of being in front, but that only works on the top part of the circuit. On the side, it's going to be a short back and sides, you would say, in terms of trying to get by, because you've got no margin for error if you've got a driver just there behind you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we are seeing potentially, I haven't seen that gap drop down into the 2.2 mark here. And just as I say that, it's dropped down to 2.9 there. So we might see Myers maybe get the hammer down a little bit over the top of the mountain there, but Gilliam on an absolute charge at the moment.
And well, who can blame him at the moment? He's got those laps fresher tyres. Consider when these two drivers came in and made their stops. Andrew Gilliam, lap 19 was the stop. Brady Myers, lap 16 was the stop. So that is 17, 18 and 19 all to get through, and that is a big advantage for Andrew Gilliam, who does not have to save that fuel. It stays though, it's just down to 2.8 seconds now. Myers is being forced to push here to try and win this race, and if he has to push, he's not doing one key fact, he's not fuel saving.
Yeah, it's exactly right, and we have seen Gilliam, especially on the lower part of the circuit, is where he seems to be getting these major time advantages. Myers coming down the mountain can coast it down a little bit. It doesn't have to be so aggressive there on the throttle now, as we've just seen that time gap just as they're about to cross the line around that 2.7 mark. So Myers maybe responding with that counter attack, putting that pace in there. Potentially a little bit too late there, too late there for Gilliam, as we're catching these three of Shepherd, Johnson and Brian Borg at the moment there. So
work to be done. No moves into the final corner, so waiting game resumes for Brian Borg, who'll be looking for a clear-cut chance, or let's get ourselves a really big scenario here. Do the Jamie Wynn cut here in comparison to Scott McLaughlin and Shane Van Gisbergen.
yeah, that's exactly right. So we've seen such a good race from these three, obviously with Corey Shepherd as well having an incident earlier on that has shuffled him down there. But we're seeing some really great driving by these three. Just catching up at the front again as well. So 2.7 seconds. So Brady Myers seem to be maintaining that gap there at the moment. Potentially this might not be enough here from Andrew Gilliam. Not too sure. Yeah, definitely needs to be more. Or Brady Myers would definitely needs to lift off a little bit more at the moment. But Brady Myers definitely putting that pressure back on.
This is a nip and tuck battle there. Not close enough to make moves with each other, but oh, how much are you pushing there? Brady Myers, did he nearly clip the wall going through the dipper and on the exit as well? That's how much he's now being forced to push, and right up to the limit now, trying to get every little morsel of time out compared to Gilliam behind. It's still 2.7 seconds. That's the key. It's 2.7 and not moving. Myers may have found a number here to try and defend this place, but Andrew Gilliam is not one to give up, and he will try everything within his power to get somewhere to influence the race.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I haven't seen too far up ahead whether or not lap traffic could play into this at the moment, but yeah, you're seeing that magical number there of 2.7 not really moving all that much at the moment there, so you can see Gilliam is definitely within eye shot, obviously not within not within attacking distance there, so potentially just watching that win, just driving up the road there away from him.
He's got to get the gap down to roughly 2 seconds then over the course of this lap. Brady Myers will be safe, otherwise you would feel here in this race. He's got himself down 2.5 seconds now, 2.5 for Andrew Gilliam, but again, it's just late on the power. It seems like Brady Myers just finds a little bit more. Through the corner though, Gilliam looks good through turn 2 and wants to attack and wants to try and find some time. He's got himself a nice little run there, picked up half a tenth through the middle of turn 2, and now through 3 and 4 up at the cutting, and now to 5. It's still 2.5 seconds that he's playing with here. This is Brady Myers attacking more rather than Andrew Gilliam, but it's now under 2.5 seconds, and every tenth now becomes a win, you would say, for Andrew Gilliam.
Yeah, it's exactly right, and just trying to pull this 10th here or there. So we did see on a few previous laps, obviously pulling over a second a lap. So definitely trying to wring absolutely everything he can to try and get this gap down. I think he can only push so hard at the moment. Coming down off the mountain, that gap, it's still 2.5 seconds there. So potentially this might be playing into Myers' favour.
Too little at the moment for Andrew Gilliam. If he wants to win, he's going to have to work more or force Myers into an unforced error, if that's even something that can possibly happen right now. This is about whether there is enough in the tank for Myers and whether Gilliam has maybe used up the good life in the tyres trying to chase down one Mr. Myers. As I very much make sure that I sound like a Dr. Seuss book there talking about all of this going on. There are still battles going on up and down the order. 6th, 7th and 8th still remaining exactly the same, but on top of that as well, you've got the likes of, say, Michael Rosenblatt and Christian Smart not a million miles away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we've also seen as well, so Jack Witter's having a pretty quiet drive there in 10th place. And Dylan Rudd, we haven't seen too many of them at the moment there, so also with a pretty similar 2.5 second gap at the moment, so they can see what's going on in front and see what's going on behind, but just maintaining their space and just chipping away the laps at the moment there, so they'll be both pretty pumped there with a top 10 result.
Top 10 would do them wonders here at the opening round of the season. They know what they need to do with these races, and that is go out with a good result, going through without any worries at all. There is Christian Smart, the new name there at the JK Sign Synergy Sim Racing team, but there is Michael Rosenblatt just in front, just managing that gap. It's 3/10 at the moment as they go through Hell's Corner, but here's the chance for Smart.
Yeah, that's right. Seeing a really great battle there between these two, and just seeing off in the background as well, Rob Bowden having some pretty great early race pace, just a little bit too far behind them too. So we're just seeing on the inside there, Rosenblatt defending very well there. So just keeping Christian Smart. So Christian will have to stay there behind over the top of the mountain there. Probably will try and wait until Forest Elbow to try and get a move done.
That was awkward for Christian Smart, and it was awkward for one key reason. He caught Rosenblatt too early through turn 1, meaning that the whole run through towards turn 2, he was thinking about, okay, can I pull alongside? Do I have room? And as such, he only curtailed the gap down to about half a car length.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just seeing come through, Christian Smart running just a little bit wider there, so really pushing at the moment there. He is poised very well there. Unfortunately, both of these two just outside of the top 10. Jack Witt is quite a long way up the road at the moment there, so fighting for these minor positions at the moment there. You just see running really wide there, coming out of Forest Elbow, flying down Conrad Straight there. As we've just seen the gap between the top 2 of Myers and Gilliam below this 2-second mark.
But it's psychological, those 2 seconds. It doesn't do anything for Andrew Gilliam, though, in this race. He needs a 1.5 seconds to start just picking up the fringes of that toe, and he is not in that range. 1 second, you really do gain an advantage on those straights. Look at the fine margins, a couple of sparks coming off the walls as Myers goes through towards turn 3 and 4, up at the cutting corner, and now up the mountain for the penultimate time in this race. It's 1.8 now, and Myers is just managing a gap, and it doesn't matter if it's an inch or a mile. A win is a win is a win. How close to the wall do you like it, Mr. Gilliam, as you go on through?
Yeah, Gilliam using all the track and then some, just absolutely scuffing those mirrors there. And another scrape again there, so Gilliam pushing absolutely on the limit there. The gap between the two not really changing too much. Not expecting too much of a change here as they come down the mountain, so we'll see how he goes lining up coming out of Forest Elbow, whether or not he can get that better drive there down Conrad Straight.
He's hoping for a drive, but the drive is okay. Myers, though, is still done well over the course of this, and the questions are now on the fuel gauge for car number 1 in this field. Brady Myers going through the right-hand corner at the chase and onto the brakes for the final couple of corners for the penultimate lap. Now you feel here, Nick, it's about Myers. How much can he hold on?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You would hope that 1.8 seconds, I've just seen it dip down to 1.7 seconds, that are pretty safe at the moment there. Barring a big mistake, obviously there's not going to be, even if Gilliam can pull that 7/10 back coming over the top of the mountain, he still has to try and get around him. So Brady Myers definitely with the upper hand at the moment there to Gilliam.
But a small mistake at turn 1, runs wide over the curb and very nearly caught the grass as well. The gap's down, it's 1.5 seconds now for Andrew Gilliam. The mistakes are starting to creep in here from Brady Myers, and this is what true racing is all about, finding the weaknesses and pressure. 1.4 as they go over towards now turn 3, turn 4 at the cutting. No more mistakes, Brady, you've got to get back into the rhythm once more, and he's got a nice and neat cutting corner there that has done exactly what has been done. He left no time on the cutting board for that one, but it still remains at 1.4 seconds right now as they go up over the mountain, and now they go through the hollow over towards the metal grate, and now the big corner at McPhillamy. 1.3 as they now look to chase the skyline. There is Andrew Gilliam in second place. Everything mattering right now down the hill. It's got to be faultless from Brady Myers. The question now will be on the fuel number. Will it be okay? Has he got enough gap to survive? He starts to choke heading towards the chase. He's okay for the time being. 1.3 though, the gap is still as they go down the hill through the Forest Elbow and now onto the Conrad Straight, the fastest straight in Australian sim racing, which will lead to the fastest corner in Australian sim racing, and then the run to the final corner out on track. Brady looks like he's okay for the moment at 1.3 seconds, but we hold with bated breath to see how this one's playing out, because it looks like Myers has enough. 1.2, Gilliam's last throw of the dice here into the final chicane. He's now relying on the fuel number not being there or a mistake at the final corner. Gilliam can't do anything because Brady Myers is coming to the final corner, and he will get the drive and do just enough to win that one. That was measured and controlled.
Yeah, Brady Myers absolutely showing a masterclass on how it's done there. So very unfortunate there for Andrew Gilliam, just missing out there as we're catching a few of the minor placings there of between Corey Shepherd and Damien Johnstone. Johnstone not getting a great drive out and Borgie a little bit down the road there. So those positions remaining unchanged there. So big slide there from Damien Johnstone. So good work, though, to make the top 10. We're just seeing a few more of Jack Wittes and Michael Rosenblatt.
Yep, they'll be looking to try and make progress over towards the finish line here today. And Jack Wittes, I think, has done more than enough to say a top 10 was deserved. It was a quiet race from the unpredictable Jack. And some would say Jungle Jack with the way that he runs on through a couple of corners at times and gets himself caught up in things that he shouldn't do. But 10th place is very well deserved. Here's a fight to the line, though. This is Chestnut and Bolton. Bolton to the inside then at the chase. They get themselves pretty close. I think it's an understatement. But around the outside, oh, that's absolutely sensational.
Yeah, great work there. We just see Chastanoff a little bit hard on the brakes there and ducking out of it. So that has cost him that position as they come through there. So great work there for those minor positions there. So I know that we've got that should round out most of the cars now, I think, on the lead lap there, Sperry.
Certainly should. And with that all in mind, let's get up official classified results then. Here from the opening round of the season at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, it is Brady Myers who had to be very cautious towards the end, did just enough to stave off Andrew Gilliam by the tune of 1.1 seconds to finish off this race. Adam Briggs will take a very respectable third place over the line. Blake Purdy had a little bit of controversy today, but does still pick up fourth position with Andrew Dyson in fifth and Corey Shepherd ruining that contact with Blake Purdy to finish only in sixth place. Damien Johnstone is the best of the Synergy cars in seventh position with Brian Borg and Dylan Rudd for Premier, along with Corey Shepherd in eighth and ninth. And a quiet but very respectable run today for Jack Wittes, who gets 10th place.
Yeah, so just missing out on the top 10, Michael Rosenblatt and Christian Smart. We saw that very late battle there. Rob Bowden, bit of a lonely 13th position. Good race there. Qualified a little bit further down the line with Scott Szlowski. Steve Jansen with an early incident back in 15th. Mitchell Bolton in 16th. Chasanoff in 17th. And Craig Jones, the last finishing on the lead lap there with Greg Sharp and Josh Morris running at the top 20.
And now we're starting to look towards those. A lap down, retirement central. We saw technical issues for Mark Duggan, which meant it's 21st only. Thomas Hinds, 2 laps down in 22nd, got caught up in a big accident up on the mountain with Andrew Ritchie in 23rd. Jason Adams then, 4 laps down. Jamie Dyke, 7 laps down. We're starting to hit retirements now. Sebastian Tixier out of the race. Michael Taliantich in a Rule 1 of sim racing with Tom Freer, who is also out of the event along with Dylan Golson. Mitch McLeod got caught out early with damage. That pretty much scuppered any intent. And one more over the page as well for position 31. Matt Morris not making it to the starting grid for this one. So it's the lap that everyone looked at. It's the race that everyone was thinking of. And what's crucial is that is the first step of 12 that these drivers have to take. They think about next week now here, Nick. Now, what's the focus then? If the race went well or if the race didn't?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And yeah, being a new series as well, you do want to get those points on the table nice and early as well. So great to see. Obviously for Brady Myers, he's definitely starting on the front foot with that win first on. So yeah, definitely in prime position to take out the championship for this season.
And you can catch that in 1 week's time on the iRacing Esports Network here as the second round of racing is going to be coming up, as well as all of the fantastic things that go on, not just from us at SimSpeed TV, but of course the likes of RaceBot TV, Apex Racing TV, LSR TV, Podium Esports, and the Global Sim Racing Channel, all of whom do fantastic work on the iRacing Esports Network. A massive thanks has to go, of course, to Motum Simulations, who have been on the replays for us, and of course to Scott Fountain on the cameras, to Nick Skarajev alongside me, and my name is Jake Sperry. That was Brady Myers at his best. A stop which he knew that he needed to manage from there to the end. able to do so at one of the great sim racing tracks and making sure that it is a letter W in the column when everybody else gets an L. It's time to move on, though. The second round of the championship coming up, but it is Brady Myers and Altus on the front foot.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?